Everybody, I'm Michael and I'm an alcoholic. Appreciate you asking me, Jonathan. Well, I think I do anyhow. I'm as nervous as a dog shitting razor blades right now. The last time I spoke, or my first time speaking, was at a church in Rockingham about a month ago, and you know, you can't cuss in the church, so I just used my first curse word. But and I will respect everything, and I won't cuss anymore. So that's all you're going to get out of me in that respect. My sobriety date is January 13th of 2013, and I never have joined the Keeping It Sober group. And but what I do have, I don't have a home group. I've got a home building. This is my building. I love this place, and it gives me a lot of peace and serenity when I'm here, along with all the people that are here. And I know a lot of people here, and I got a lot of good friends in this building, and I wouldn't have them if it wasn't for AA. I'm supposed to tell y'all what it was like, what happened to me, and what it's like now. So I'm going to do my best to describe my life the way as good as I can without AJ's going to call me on any of my crap. So, he's known me since I was a little boy. But anyhow, I'm the youngest of 5 boys, and I grew up in Southern Pines. And my memories are really pretty good memories of growing up. My father was an alcoholic. My mother was an alcoholic. And I know for true all my brothers were alcoholics, but I just lost one about 3 months ago. He was what I would call he could function drinking. And I got another brother who can function drinking, but they were alcoholics. Unfortunately, I wasn't a functioning boy alcoholic, or I wasn't at the end anyhow. But growing up, we had a great neighborhood to grow up in. I had a field in my backyard. It was my backyard. It's called the Camel House. I'm sure some of y'all know where that is. It's a great place for playing football, basketball, baseball, camping out. Drinking was a big part of the Camel House in my years coming up. Actually, the Camel House provided a haven for a lot of young people in the neighborhood. There was always something going on over there. Every single day there was something to do. But I'm going to probably, my chronological clock doesn't work real good, so I'll jump back and forth a little bit, so y'all going to have to forgive me about that. But I went to school at a Catholic school at St. Anthony's Catholic School. You girls that are in the halfway house is right across the street from there. I went to school there in 1st and 2nd grade, and then they closed it down. But Catholic people were all drinkers, for the most part. All my friends that were Catholics, their families were drinkers. Any get-together that we went to, there was alcohol involved somehow or another. As a matter of fact, I cannot even think of not one party where there wasn't alcohol there. I wasn't a sipper. I didn't take my first drink until probably 8 or 9 years old. But from the ages of 5 to 8, you know, I had a lot of good memories. I don't remember anything much before 5 years old. But while I'm on the memory subject, I'm just going to tell y'all, I've been hit in the head right there 5 times over a period of 50 years. I'm 50 years old. And it caused memory loss for me over the years. And I don't remember a lot of things. And so I'm going to have bits and pieces come to me. But in 1st grade, I got hit in the head the first time by a baseball bat. I was standing too close to the batter, and they took me to the doctor, and they said he might have memory loss. And that was it. 6 months later, I fell off a table and landed on the same spot. Same thing. And then that happened a few more times. But alcohol, I'm sure, plays a big part in my memory loss. I'm positive of that too. So, because I sure did do a lot of damage in my brain. I know that for a fact. I remember my first resentment, and it stuck with me throughout all my life until I finally was able to, I guess, forget it. I don't know. But that happened at the Camel House. that I was telling y'all about. I was a little bitty guy, and I was probably in third or fourth grade, and my mother had, with the 4 older boys ahead of me, she got lazy, and when it came to me, because I didn't have any clean laundry one day, and no clean underwear, and she said, go get a pair of your dad's underwear. We'll roll them up, put them on, and nobody will ever know it. So I did that, and we went to the Camel House, and I was wearing shorts or something, and you know how kids will yank shorts down. Well, they yanked my shorts down, and there I was with these big old droopy drawers on, and I got the nickname Droopy Drawers, and it made me mad. I mean, I was livid. I mean, I could kill somebody for calling me a name, and that was a stigma that was on me for the rest of my life. And if something happened that embarrassed me, or something that would happen that would cause me, somebody called me a name, I lost it. You know, I just could never get it. And my mother would look at me and she'd go, sticks and stones will break your bones, but words will never hurt you. That's bullshit, excuse my language. The words ate me up. But, you know, because of that one time, I know that caused problems in my up and coming years. And it made me to be somewhat shy. And my 4 older brothers were about as outgoing as anybody can be. AJ will tell you that. They got along with everybody. The women loved them. They flocked on them. And I was just as shy and as bashful as I could be. And that's just the way it was for me. From there on in, I was stigmatized, if there's such a word. But as we started growing up, we had a lot of fun at the Camel House. We built forts. We didn't have a lot of money, so I didn't have a lot of great toys and stuff like that. A lot of neighborhood kids did. We didn't, but we made the best of what we had. But the things we did have, we had hammers, we had tools, we made sports. That was a whole lot better than pushing a Tonka truck toy around. For me, it was anyhow. And we learned how to do things at a young age. If we needed something, we made it happen. We would build our own bicycles. We'd go to the junkyard and make stuff. And a lot of times our stuff was better than the new stuff that everybody else had. But anyhow, with my 4 older brothers, and most of my friends were all older than me, I kind of grew up maybe a little bit more mature than what I should have, because when they started drinking, I started drinking. You know, my brother's at 12 and I'm at 9, and I'm starting to drink just like the rest of them, and I couldn't hold my drinks. But fast forward it a little bit, I'm going to go on up to the 8th grade and then we'll progress. 8th grade, I remember my first drunk, and this is a good alcoholic in my opinion. We had our 8th grade field trip, which is the last day of school, at the Camel House, which was my backyard. And there was about 9 of us, 8 or 9 of us, and we all got together, chipped in, and one of my older brothers bought us, I think it was 6 cases of beer. And I went over through the woods in the Camel House. I dug a big hole, put them in the hole, put ice all over them, and I think I iced them about 3 days too soon, but because they were warm when we started drinking them. But I got drunk at my 8th grade field day trip. All of us got drunk. And I was fortunate enough, I didn't get in trouble, but a lot of them did. But, you know, planning a drunk at an 8th grade level, that requires some alcoholic mentality, as far as I'm concerned, it does. From there on in, on weekends, every single weekend, we already had it planned. My parents paid me and my brother $5 a week for doing raking yards, taking the garbage out, feeding the dogs, you know, the regular chores that we shouldn't have gotten paid a dime for. But that $5 went towards alcohol on the weekend, and cigarettes. We bought cigarettes with it too. And every weekend we were drinking. And I had a really good friend of mine, his name was Charlie. And my brother Tim, me and Charlie and Tim, my brother Tim, some of y'all know Tim, he just came into the program. Every weekend we had it mapped out, we got it going on. And we drank, started out drinking Schlitz malt liquor, or Schlitz or something like that. And then we, Richard's Wild Irish Rose, and Boone's Farm was a big one for us. We drank anything there was to drink. And I got sick every time. I couldn't hold my liquor, couldn't hold my beer or whatever it was. And it was a non-stop every weekend thing from 8th grade all the way up till I'm gonna guess 12 or 13 years old, and I finally could start holding it a little bit. But one of the things that I remember that really kind of stuck in my mind is everybody else could graduate and drink a little bit more, but I was little. I was under 100 pounds, and I never could drink more than a quart of beer. And I wanted to be like them. I wanted to be able to drink that 6-pack, and that stayed with me. I wanted to be able to drink like everybody else could, and I couldn't because I was too small. I couldn't hold it. But eventually, you know, I got to where I could start holding my liquor a little bit. But you know, that's alcoholic mentality right there. I think it is. You know, I'm backing up just a little bit. You know, when my mother was pregnant with me, I know she drank every day. My mother had 3 drinks a day, every day religiously for as far back as I can remember. And I know my dad was a binge drinker, but you know, if she drank 3 drinks every day, I was drinking 3 drinks every day while she was pregnant with me. So I'm sure, you know, something was in me, along with inheriting it through my family. I already had it in me when I was born. I like to think it was that way anyhow. I was born to be an alcoholic, is what I'm trying to say. Nobody plans to be one, and I've learned that through this program. Nobody wants to be in here tonight, but we are. So anyhow, moving on up, I finally graduated where I could drink more than a quart. And I guess I was probably 14 or 15. I remember getting my first 6-pack. And I was bound and determined to drink every daggone one of those beers, and I did. And I didn't remember what I did the next day. And here's some of the things that the people that I hung out with did. If you got drunk and passed out, somebody's going to put Tabasco on your lips. They're going to put your hand in water and make you pee all over yourself. That was another, we'll call it another stigma on me, because I was the first one to pass out every time. I've woken up many times and my lips were completely swollen from Tabasco or peed in my pants. A lot of times I peed in my pants without the water. But, you know, these are things that really, you know, I got resentments. I had resentments and didn't even know I had resentments. But, you know, partying got more and more. I finally went to high school, and I was a good student in school. I made A's and B's. I remember let me back up. I need to back up just a little bit more. The Campbell House was such a great teacher. I'm going to keep my story to alcohol, but with just a few exceptions, and I'm going to give them to you right now, or one of them anyhow. Marijuana was a big thing going around in my group, so I learned how to smoke pot at the age of 12. And I remember the pot that they smoked, it was called Mexican. If any of you old people in here like me, y'all remember the Mexican, it wasn't really that good a pot. And we had to smoke it. I had to smoke at least 5 times before I even felt anything. But the 6th time that I got high, there was a guy, he had some Colombian gold. I took 2 totes off of that and blacked out, and I was gone to the world for about 3 hours. So, you know, that's the kind of life that if there was something there to do, we did it. Drugs were in abundance in my neighborhood too, but I was scared of those for a long time. But drinking was my thing. I loved my drinking, and what the drinking did is it got me out of my nervousness, where I could talk to the women, I could dance, I could have fun, and I could feel just like everybody else felt. And you know, I've heard so many people up here, like where I'm at right now, and tell that story, and the more I think about it, drinking, I had to have it, and I didn't even know I had to have it. I couldn't feel normal without it. But, you know, I was a hard worker. I didn't miss a day of school in 9th grade. I didn't miss a day of school in 10th grade. When 11th grade came around, we were starting to skip school a little bit, and we'd skip school and go drinking every single time we skipped. And I graduated in the early 80s. I graduated in 1981, so in 1980 and 1981, I missed 32 days. That's the maximum days you could miss. I missed all of them, and they were all skipping and drinking. Every single, I never was sick. I skipped every single one of those days drinking. So 11th and 12th grade, I missed the maximum days you could miss, and it was all drinking. Not something I'm real proud of, but that's just what we did. But anyhow, in 11th grade, I got out early on what they call the ICT program, and I went to work for my dad. And my dad was an electrical and plumbing contractor, and all of my brothers were already working for my dad full time. So I fell into the family business, and I learned a couple of good trades, and things worked good for me. I worked hard and I made good money. And I got to where I was good enough to where I could start doing side work and start making the real good money. And what that did for me is it allowed me to spend a little bit of money on other things. Cocaine was a big part of my life. Cocaine and alcohol went hand in hand for a lot of years there. But anyhow, I did that work for my dad, and finally parted ways with my dad because I couldn't work with my brothers anymore. They were drunks. There was days I'd go into the shop and I'd wait till 10 o'clock because one of them was too hungover, and I'd be riding with him that day. So I went to work for another company, and I'm probably now I'm 19 or 20 years old, and life's still pretty good for me, and I'm just not working with my family anymore. But I turned 21. Interesting story. I bought my first. When I was at the age of 18, they changed the drinking law to 21. I could still buy beer, but I couldn't buy liquor in a bar. When I turned, of course, the bars I went to, they all sold me liquor anyhow because I was such a good customer. But I bought my first fifth of liquor when I was 21. It was vodka, and I bought a really good vodka. And I drank the whole fifth by myself. Didn't let anybody have a shot of it or anything. And well, I went uptown, and there was a bar called the Ranch. Some of y'all probably have heard of the Ranch. And they had a rock and roll band up there, and people started buying me shots up there. And I was still, actually I was about the size I am now. And woke up the next day on my brother's couch and didn't know how I got there. And that was one of many blackouts, many blackouts. And I found out that I passed out on their back patio. They couldn't wake me up. They had the bouncer carry me out and lay me out on the curb right in the middle of downtown Southern Pines. And some guy was riding around at 4 o'clock in the morning. I don't know what he was doing out that late, but saw me laying on the curb, recognized me, and put me on my brother's couch. And I didn't find out how I got home for probably 3 months. And then I finally found out. I said, oh God. But you know, those things happen to me, not a lot, but fairly regular. Two things that I wanted to share with y'all that should have been big red flags in my drinking career, and they weren't, but they should have been. And the first one was I was 16 years old, and I lived at home with my parents by myself. All my brothers had moved out. And I went to my good friend JT's house. He had a party that night, and he had a keg party. And I got drunk, real drunk. And I drove home, and don't even remember driving home, and it was cold outside. And in our den, we had a little bitty den, and on the floor was a space heater about this big with a big green pillow that you could lay on that pillow, watch the TV, and that space heater would blow on you. So I laid down in front of that, and I turned the space heater on and lit up a cigarette. And I woke up with the side of my head burning really bad. The entire house was filled with smoke, and that cigarette burned a little bitty hole in that pillow. It had like a velour corduroy cover on it. Burned a hole in, like that through it, but burned the entire inside of it out, and burned a hole in our little shag carpet about like that. And probably gave me a good second-degree burns on my head, but if I hadn't first off, if I hadn't been drunk, that never would have happened. But if I hadn't been laying it on with my head, I'd be dead from smoke inhalation because the entire house was filled with smoke. But my next morning, here's how the ignorance ran for me is, my first thought was, I better quit smoking. It never dawned on me that maybe I might have a problem with alcohol, and that's at 16 years old. Now, later on in life, I got married. My ex-wife is sitting right there. Life was pretty good, and she and I had our first child, and I think things were pretty good at that point in time. But 4 months after he was born, we decided to go out on the town for the first time, and we both got intoxicated. I don't need to bring you into my story, but you're part of it. And we got in an argument with each other, so she went home, and I stayed out on the town. And I said, hell, I'm going to enjoy it since I'm out here. I might as well go ahead and ride the ride. And my brother came in, and he looked at me, and he said, what in the world's wrong with you, boy? You need to get home. You got a brand new baby. What are you doing? And I was drunk. I mean, I had to close one eye just to see straight. That's the honest truth. And that's just standing there. That ain't driving or anything. So he carried me home, and she wasn't going to let me in the front door for nothing in the world. And I had a brand new 4x4 candy apple red chrome package king cab pickup truck that was another little gift that I got the same day my son was born. And I decided, well, hell, I'm just going back uptown. Well, I got in it. It was cold outside, and I got in it, and I realized I was too drunk to drive, so I said, I'll just sleep in my truck, and I reclined back and lit a cigarette. I woke up in the field next door to my house. The fire department was there. My truck was burned up. My front door to my house was kicked in. She was raising hell. Just all kinds of commotion going on, and I didn't know what had happened. And they told me that my brother lived like 2 blocks down, and they were walking uptown because they hadn't had too much to drink to drive, and my truck was on fire. And somebody just luckily saw my hand up in the window, and they pulled me out of that truck that was on fire. And I came real close to dying. And wound up spending the night at my brother's house, I think, and we had an all-night babysitter. But my next morning, my thoughts were the same damn thing. I better quit smoking. It didn't dawn on me, idiot. You're an alcoholic. You need to quit drinking. But that's how I thought. I found excuses for everything in the world. I never owned up to any of my mistakes the way they needed to be owned up to, and I made a lot of them. As time progressed, my alcohol didn't make me. I can continue to do stupid things. My work started to suffer from it. By this time I've got 2 children. Things are suffering at my home. I'm not paying the bills the way I'm supposed to be paying them. I'm just not the man that I'm supposed to be, and I know I'm not. But I don't try to do anything about it. I continue in my ways, and we wound up getting a separation. And all these horrific things happened, and I still didn't want to quit drinking. I was still having fun, a lot of fun, so I thought. But, as time progressed, we wound up getting a divorce because mostly of my drinking. There was other issues involved, but, it was just one thing after another. Got two DWIs in that same time frame. I just didn't see the light. But a little bit before we divorced, I agreed to go through my first treatment. It wasn't a treatment; it was outpatient treatment at Pinehurst Hospital, at the hospital, and it was intensive outpatient treatment. And I went to intensive outpatient treatment for 67 days, 4 days a week, 3 hours a day. and I did not drink, and I did not do any drugs, and I felt good, but that wasn't enough. After 67 days, and I was in the same room with the same 5 people, and we did the same crap day in and day out, day in and day out, day in and day out. What I didn't realize is that's exactly what I needed. I needed to hear the same stuff over and over and over again, but I didn't tune into it, so I stopped it myself. And I probably stayed sober maybe a week after I stopped that. And me with my mind, I'm thinking I'm the smartest guy in the world. Well, I can drink a little bit here and a little bit there. I was off to the races in no time, flat. By this point in time in my life, the hair of the dog syndrome, that's what I call it, is, I had to have a drink to get me going in the morning. The hair of the dog that bit me. I couldn't suffer through that hangover. In my opinion, my hangover would kill the average man. That's what I thought anyhow. And I would have to drink. And I'd start off with a 24-ounce beer, and then I'd go to work. Lunchtime, I'd go buy me 2 mini bottles. And then I'd go back to work. And then after work, it was off to the races until I passed out or whatever. And this went on for a while, a pretty good while. And we divorced, and I met another woman. And things started progressing with her, and drugs became more of an issue in my life. And what I found out with the drugs is I could drink the way I wanted to drink. So both went hand in hand with each other, but alcohol was always my problem. If I did a line of cocaine, I'm gonna go get me a 12-pack of beer or a 5th liquor or something, because one had to offset the other for me. Or if I drank 4 or 5 beers, at this point in time, I had to go get a bag of cocaine because one went with the other. But that was the relationship I had with that other person too. That was a big part of her life, and it was always a part of my life, but it became a major part of my life at this point in my life. And I was 40 years old then. I had just turned 40, my 40th birthday, and that's when I first started really doing it like that. But prior to that, I'd already gone to a treatment program one time. I went to Samaritan Colony, and that didn't stick. And so when I met this lady, the drugs progressed. She had a lot of money, so I didn't have to work. I didn't have to do anything except, just be with her. And that's how my life went for the next 5 or 6 years. I did do a little bit of work, but I didn't do very much. I did not pay my child support like I was supposed to. I did not handle any business. I completely severed all my ties with my family. I might contact somebody once a month just to let them know I'm still alive. I was in my own world, and I didn't want anybody else to be a part of it except for me and the lady that I was with, and that's just the way it was. Anyhow, I got so bad, and I didn't eat, and I wasn't sleeping. I went from 155 pounds to 122 pounds, and I didn't know it. Everybody else could see it, but I couldn't see it. And I finally thought I was whipped again, so I checked back into the Samaritan Colony another time. This is the second time going through treatment, and I felt real good about it this time. And I actually came out and worked steps. I actually came out and got a sponsor, but I didn't do it. I did not do it to the best of my ability, and I know I did it. And I wound up thinking that I was strong enough to handle my addiction and my alcoholism. And I went back to that same woman, and I went back into that same environment, and I was off to the races in no time. And there's a lot of nastiness involved there that I don't have time to share with y'all, but I'd love to, but I can't. But in and out of jail probably at least 7 times. Just one thing after another, and it was all due to drinking or drugging or both. Most of the time both. So as time went on, I got tired of the rat race, and the rat race was always on the hunt for that other addiction in my life, and that got sick. One day I just decided I don't want it anymore, and I quit it. But what happened that day when I quit it was the alcohol took over every aspect of my life. I didn't do drugs anymore, but I drank every single minute of the day. I was never sloppy drunk, but I was intoxicated at all times. I was numb. And I moved in with a good friend of mine over here in Bass. He lived in a trailer, and he was just like me. So we hit it off really well. And I got to the point where enough was enough for me, and I tried to quit myself. And that I know of, I had 2 alcoholic seizures. And both times I woke up on the floor, and one time I must have hit something because my head was a little bit split up. It wasn't bad, but and I know it happened to me once before, but I thought my blood pressure had gone bad or something, but it wasn't. It was a seizure. I came to realize that later. So it was time to quit, and I'm watching my buddy kill himself. I'm killing myself. I can't function without it. So I called up my brother who was in this program, and he was instrumental in helping me. And he took me to the hospital for my 3rd trip to detox. And I sat there for 11 hours without a drink in my system. And the hospital was so busy they couldn't take me, and I couldn't take it anymore. So I called him up and told him to come back and get me and stop his door and get me a couple 24s, because I was so bad, I was sweating, and I didn't want to have any more seizures. And so he did, and I wound up drinking again for a little bit longer, and tried it one more time, but this time I went to the halfway house and I talked to Glenn, and I asked him for my help. And the people in the detox ward would not take me the first time because I wasn't drunk. That's, if you ever want to go get detox, get drunk before you go. Just take my word for that. But they wouldn't take me because I wasn't drunk. And but they didn't know everything about me. But Glenn called, what's the little guy that wears glasses in here all the time? That's part of that. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Called him, and he met me in the emergency room, and I wound up having to wait about 3 hours that time. So they got me into detox. I detoxed for 6 days, and my first 3 days were on the bed, sweating bad, and they had me on 40 milligrams of Valium, 10 milligram Valium 4 times a day. They had me on Ativan to make sure I didn't seize, and something else. And at day 6, I was still shaking probably about like that, and they wanted to keep me longer, but I didn't want to stay anymore. I was ready to go to a rehab. So they sent me to a rehab, and I was back on Valium at the rehab, which is almost unheard of from what I gathered. But I stayed on Valium for another week at the rehab, stayed on Ativan, and after that I finally started settling. And I spent 28 days or 30 days in rehab. At this time I went to Button. This is my 4th rehab at this point in time. I'd already gone another time before. I'd already spent 7 or 8 months in the halfway house prior to that too. I told you my chronological time kind of jumps a little bit. So anyhow, I wanted to come back here because this is where all my people are. And Glenn would not let me back in the halfway house. And I had proven myself a failure to him, and he wasn't going to take a chance on me again. And I don't blame him. To this day, I owe him a debt. I am very grateful for that halfway house. That halfway house, what I wound up doing was I got an Oxford house in Raleigh. And if this is not a joke, this is God's sense of humor to me. This halfway house is stuck right in the middle of Drug Central, USA. And there's a beer and liquor store within 500 feet of my house. But they let me come into that halfway house. I needed $200 to go in, and nobody would loan me any money at all to get in there. And because they only have 4 people in there, they needed more people, so they took a chance on me. That's God working for me. And I got there, and it was January the 18th, I think it was no, I'm sorry, February the 18th. February the 18th, and it was cold and raining outside, and I don't know how bus lines work in Raleigh, but a bus came by my house twice a day. One would go downtown and one would go to another area, or 2 or 3 buses came by. One of the guys that came to my halfway house, I said, or lived at the Oxford house, I said, I need a job, Dad. But the rules in the Oxford house, when you get there, you gotta leave the house by 8:30 in the morning, and you can't come back until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. There's no exceptions. Don't care if it's raining, don't care if you don't know anybody, don't care if you don't got a dime in your pocket. You're not coming back in there. So I hit the road in pouring rain and walked 1.5 miles to apply for a job. And I got it. And that made me so happy. And I went to work for this company the next day, and I wound up walking for like a week, and I found out that damn bus goes almost to my job site. But so anyhow, I did that, and a job opportunity came up down here 6 months later, and I called Glenn at the halfway house. I said, I told him my whole situation, and he said, come on. So my ball started rolling. It was already rolling in Raleigh. And I was making meetings every single day. I was making new friends. I did exactly what I was supposed to do. I followed all the directions of my sponsor. I did exactly what I was supposed to do, and my life started becoming happier. And for a long time, I didn't think I could get happy. And I would fake laugh. I could sell an Eskimo an ice cube at one time or another. I could make you think I was happy, but I wasn't. I'm truly happy today. And it's all as a direct result of this. But when I came back to the halfway house, I moved in there, and there was only like 4 or 5 guys in there. So that, it worked out good. I got my own room right off the get-go. I didn't have to stay in the dorm with a bunch of guys. So that was pretty awesome. And I started working with my new company the next day. And the great thing about the halfway house is they've got Eddie and Hugh that work up there, and those guys are awesome. They helped me so much. Eddie would carry me all the way to Rayford to go to work every day, and he would come pick me up every day. That's the perk of the halfway house that I am truly blessed to have had, because without that, I wouldn't have got the job. So, that's just one of the small little things that the halfway house did for me. The first time I went through the halfway house, I was still with that woman that I was telling y'all about, and you could get a pass every other weekend. Well, every other weekend I was out the door. This time I spent the whole entire year there. A year, I was shy 1 week of a year, and I took 2 passes through the whole entire year. And both times with a house sit for that lady right over there to look after her dog. That's all I did. I stayed right here. I did what I was supposed to do. I came to these meetings and saw all you guys. I made more friends. I was able to purchase a car. I was able to buy some clothes. I bought my first brand new pair of tennis shoes in 10 years when I moved into that halfway house. That was something special for me. I got people trusting me again now. I got people who will call me and let me come work at their house where they didn't want that drug addict, alcoholic over there working at their house. Some of y'all might live in a house that I wired when I was drunk. I passed all my inspections, so I want you to know that. But, the halfway house with Eddie, Hugh, Miss B is my female sponsor. There's not anything in the world I can't tell that woman. And I go by and see her. I see the people. I go by the halfway house. I'll say at least 5 times a week. Have a cup of coffee, say hi to everybody, and just check in. I feel like that's my home. And I check into my home at least 5 times a week, sometimes more, maybe every now and again a little bit less, but this is my home building. I know so many people in here, and everybody greets me with open arms. And it's so nice to have your backup for me. Everybody's backup in here for me. If I've got a problem, I know I got somewhere to go. I've got a network I can go to. All the numbers in my cell phone are alcohol-related numbers now, AA numbers, somehow or another. There's a few that are business, but 90% of them are AA people. I come to meetings regular. If I don't like what I'm hearing, I'll get up and leave. Most of the time, I'm gonna hear something. Almost every time I hear something that's gonna help me get through one day at a time. And I had a situation that just happened to me. Now, my last DWI, this to me, this is what's happening with me in this program. This is a good example. This is the best I can come up with right now. I've been driving on a temporary driving privilege now for a little over a year, which I didn't know until I got pulled last week. I was going to see Harold C. at the hospital. Y'all know who Harold is. And I got pulled in the parking lot, and the cop that pulled me proceeded to let me know that I was driving without insurance and there was an issue to pull the tags off my car. I had just redone my insurance about 2 weeks prior to that, and I showed him proof of it. And he went to his computer and he came back and he said, "Got to pull your tag." He said, "Do you have a license?" I said, "Yeah, I've got one issued to me. It's a temporary driving privilege." And he said, "Can I see it?" I said, "Yes, sir." And I gave it to him. He came back and said, "I'm driving with a revoked license now." And I looked at him and I said, "You know, how can I be driving with a revoked license when a judge gave me this, and you've got to complete all these things before you can get a temporary driving privilege?" And he said, "Well, the state of North Carolina says you're driving with a revoked license." Well, what it said was, I did not complete my alcohol assessment. And what had happened was my 28-day treatment was, in essence, a substitute for an assessment. I didn't have to do an alcohol assessment with Recovery Associates. That substituted for it. But when you get your driver's license back, you have to have something done from the assessment people to get them back. So to make a long story short, I had to get new tags, cost me money. I had to get another assessment done, cost me money. And then I had to get my new 24/7 all day long driver's license. That cost me money. But I got them back. And you know, throughout the process, it took about a week for all this to happen. You know, every little alley I went down, I was hitting a brick wall. And every time I hit a brick wall, my little head would just go a little bit lower, a little bit lower, and a little bit lower. And I was starting to get in that little feeling sorry for myself mode and about ready to give up. Not drink, it was not enough to make me drink, but you know, I was sitting up there talking to Miss B, and I walked in to get a cup of coffee, and she was talking to somebody else, and she was telling them about the situation going on with her and her medical issues, and I sat there and listened to that, and you know, it got me out of me and into her, and I'm thinking, you know, this is nothing. This is nothing. I shouldn't even, you know, sweating something stupid like this, and there's other people out there that got problems like that. You know, it was that quick for me to snap out of it, get out of myself and get into somebody else. And I do practice that every day. I do a 10 step every day. If I make a problem, I fix it quick. I say my prayers every day and every night. I do a gratitude list. I don't write it down like I've been told to, but I do it verbally to God when I'm sitting drinking a cup of coffee. I go out and smoke a cigarette, and I talk to God just like I'm talking to y'all right now. He's my friend. I'm sober through the grace of God in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I can honestly say that in the past 10 years, this last year of my life has been the happiest, and it's all because of y'all. Thank you.